Round Lake is pretty self-sufficient because of the people that live in it. Our district is known as low income district, but then you look around at other districts that have the same title, and there's a very high crime rate, which we don't see it in Round Lake, and also food desert, which Round Lake doesn't have either, and that's because of the people that live in it. Like, we're very self-sufficient. We are a community of hardworking families, and with a lot of customs and traditions, and it's very, like, I love Round Lake. That's why
the parents are very friendly, very, very friendly. When you learn how to work with the parents, believe me, the parents are very nice with you teachers. So there are wonderful person here in Round Lake. I love the restaurants. There are a lot of Mexican restaurants and bread, Mexican bread. Enjoy this community. It's really friendly.
Usually Saturdays are birthdays, and we go to La Luz or to sometimes Love and Oven to get some cakes and treats, coffee, and celebrate.
I want to say La Luz Bakery has the best, what do you call it? Tres leches cake I've ever had anywhere. Let's throw that in.
Sorry. They also have really good tamales in La Luz Bakery.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's true. That's true. They do, and they often several of these places you mentioned, like Mendoza and La Luz Bakery. They've donated to us for activities we've done in the high school for our bilingual groups, and so they're really good about that. They helped out with tamales. They helped out also with Mendoza helps out with whatever I want. They're just incredibly gracious to us, and so that's another good reason to support them.
Right now, I'm very addicted to Los Comales.
Lomeli's restaurant right on Cedar Lake, I believe. I really like the tortas de milanesa de pollo from there. I don't know, I really love tortas, so if you guys ever want to try that, you should try it. Also, if you want like ice cream, if you go to La Michoacana on Rollins, get a mangoñada, but order mango and lime ice cream. Oh, delicious. And then
a lot of the things that we would do also on weekends, it's St. Joseph's. We're very committed to our religious beliefs, so we will go to St. Joseph's and take part in their activities, where you see a lot of the members of Round Lake. Like, I run into students all the time.
Merced, you want to talk about, speaking of St. Joseph, Merced and her sister, they usually sell quesadillas. You want to tell us about your famous quesadillas?
They are delicious.
The best. Homemade. Oh my God.
Homemade. Every place here in Round Lake is special. The San Joseph Church is very special, really special in this community. Many people are there. My sister and I, we are voluntary there too, because we are everywhere. But we start helping to raise money for the church. We start doing quesadillas made with a tortilla, homemade tortilla, really fresh. So yes, we start to do it. And now that quesadillas are very famous.
like, at least for me, a lot of my family lives in Round Lake. So usually like every street has a bunch of cars on it just because we're having parties, birthday parties, celebrating, whatever. So and if a student ever invites you to a party, go. Like, the food's gonna be amazing. Like, just the community there is gonna be good. So that, I feel like that's something that I usually do on the weekend, and a lot of people do here.
The culture, like right now, the community is celebrating the Our Lady of Guadalupe. And that's a way to connect with the students, because the students are going to react and they're going to be surprised that you know about these traditions. Like most families in Round Lake, they put an altar for their Day of the Dead. So in their homes, I visited many homes in Round Lake, and I saw the pictures of their deceased parents. And so when you start to know the families and you talk about like they have the Day of the Child in April, they're going to be so surprised. How do you know about my culture? So that's a way to connect. Like, oh yeah, about the tacos or the quesadillas. That's like a starting conversation with your students.
If you just take the time to go to the store and try out, the tacos at Mendoza, or go to Lomeli's, that can start a conversation with the parents, because you can say, hey, so I went to Mendoza and I tried out this tacos. What do you recommend? That connection goes a long way with the parent. The one thing that brings everybody together is food. So it's a good way to, start any conversation. It's with food. Just ask them about, just like you're asking us right now, what do you recommend? Ask the parents. And that will go a long way.
I also want to jump in on the idea of using culture in the classroom. In other words, there's so many things, and me as someone from outside the culture, right? The Hispanic culture, the different cultures that are in Round Lake, but it's primarily Mexican culture, that there's so much to learn from the students in that. And when you do that, you create the opportunities of those, I've said this so many times, of learning from the students. It really brings them into the classroom in a lot better way. And there's a lot of ways of doing that too, as well, in an academic way. For example, you can really go really deep on a compare and contrast, where you compare Halloween to Day of the Dead. They're similar times, but very, very different way to approach of death and all these other things. It depends how deep you want to go with that. And there's all kinds of comparisons like that for compare and contrast you can use in the classroom that are really valuable and critical thinking opportunities for the students. And also it allows them to bring in what they know about and their knowledge and their cultural background into the classroom, which makes it so much richer of an environment for the children as well as for us as teachers.
Yeah, and you could go even more simple than that. Like in 3rd grade, we're doing multiplication. So instead of saying that you're sharing cookies or whatever things you're used to, talk about the foods that that they eat. Talk about tacos, talk about conchas, tamales, and those things will be interesting for them.
And I used to also use where I would have students maybe sometimes in my ESL class, right? Have them maybe do a demonstration of a recipe or something like that, and for process writing, right? And those kind of things. It's really, it just makes it fun for everybody, kids.
A lot of times, like for teachers who don't live in Round Lake, they have to realize that they drive in, and when they leave Round Lake, life goes on here. Like it doesn't stop. Like you only see what you saw when you drove into Round Lake or you arrived to the school that you're teaching at, and it's way more than that. So for you to be invested in your students, you need to be invested in the community, and that's finding people like Maria or Merced to work with and know how you can help. This may not be your community and you may not live here, but these kids do, and what you do here is going to support them in the community and at school as well. So just keep that in mind. Like you drive in and you leave and life goes on here, just because it doesn't stop when you leave, and these kids are living their lives here. And the most impact I've had are like teachers who come see me after school, who come to the games, who I've seen in the community, who go to the church, even though they're not religious, because someone said something that something's going on at the church, they showed up. So I think that's really impactful. And, when they see you do those things, they know you care about them. So
I don't call them just when there's a problem with their kid. A lot of parents told me that, they only call me from school because when there is a problem. So they like that I call just to say hi. I hope you're feeling better. I hope everything is okay. That friendly reminder means a lot to them.
Yes, Maria. Especially when when one teacher know about if there are some problem with the family, and the teacher is interested to help that student, that family, that is very important, because we are family. Just not to say, oh, I'm the teacher, you are the parent, you are the students, and that's it. No, the mission is to work together, to be involved with the parents, with the students, ask the students how you feel. I share with the parents, when you have problems, please share with the teacher. I have this problem in my house, because we never know how is live every family. But many parents on this community we don't know a lot of technology, but with one message is more easy for us. And especially in this time, we need to learn. I know we need to learn, but we are trying to learn how to do it. But when you start, teachers, when you start with us, we feel more más confortables con ustedes.
I think, historically, Round Lake has gone through a lot of changes. Before the housing crisis happened in 2008, there was a new development that went up, and there was a great big sign, billboard size, and it was right on the corner of the school, of the Round Lake School, advertising that this development had said in large letters, Lake Villa Schools. In other words, right across the street. So all these developers were doing all this work to political work to. So if you look at a map of school districts around Round Lake, there's all these little fingers coming in from these other school districts, so that the new developers could have a better time selling their houses. It was really sad. It was really sad to see that. But that was sort of the outside image of Round Lake back then. And I'm not saying, of course, I'm not saying that there was anything good about that, but it was certainly gave you an idea how the wider community viewed Round Lake. I personally like Round Lake, and I love Round Lake students, and I don't think I would have wanted to teach at any other school district than Round Lake District. Personally, guys, I just really liked working with the population of the kids there. But yeah, and prior to that, there was a time in history when they could close down Cabrini. They were moving people out of Cabrini Green, and they moved people into the Round Lake area, and that's where, as I think Velva said at one time we were talking, that's when white flight sort of started out around Lake. So Round Lake has been a transition, and I think it's really stabilized now, and it's really becoming it's a wonderful community now. And if you look what they've done to the downtown area, it's really magnificent. It's a wonderful downtown area compared to many other downtown areas where there's nothing going on, right? So anyway, I think that's a little bit of history on that, and it's sort of an uncomfortable topic to talk about, but nevertheless, I think it's important that we be aware of that as teachers, because how our students sometimes maybe feel inferior or something because they live in Round Lake to a certain extent, and so we need to be very aware of that and help create the pride that they should have for the community they live in.
Like, you can be that change agent who tells their kids or who shows their kids that history of Round Lake, because I went to Round Lake schools. Nobody told me about that. I had no idea like what was going on. So that's so important. And Larry, thanks for bringing that up. I hope everybody's listening to what you said or decides that they're Googling it for a little bit today, because that is so important.
So growing up in Round Lake, going into Round Lake High School when there was a lot of gang activity and things like that, there was, a lot of bad things going on, but that doesn't dismiss the fact that there were still a lot of good parents and good students trying to, do well. So I think some of those activities do not define Round Lake.
Because we are team, police, school, community, all we can do better, much better this community. I asked to the chief police, how is the situation right now about the gangs? If they are the same, and he told me no, before it was very difficult, very different. Now Round Lake is better. It's a lot better than 20 years before. So we are very happy learning with the police academy, because we can share with all the community. We don't have a scare anymore with the teachers, and now with the police, because when we think in the police, we have a scare. Oh, the police are bad persons. No, we are the community, and it's really important work all together, but the school and the community are better. Every community can be better when we work together. One time my husband told me, maybe 10 years ago, he told me, come on, honey, you are crazy. You think, are you going to change the school? You are crazy. He told me that because I have a lot in the school. And when he told me that, I think about, oh, okay, honey. I know that I can't change the world, but we can change one family on time. And now he say me, wow, honey, I admire, because you always are there. You always are there. You never are tired to be there, because now all the students are my students.
Project with Sierra Club, we're working on helping parents with mental health, and we have nature walks. And I remember what one parent said is like, we're gonna plant a tree, not to give us the shade, not to enjoy the tree, but we're planting the tree for future generations. And I love what this parent said, and she has 5 kids. And it inspired me, parents inspire me every day, because what I'm doing now may not be for us, but it's for future generations. And that's my dream, and that's my hope, and that's what motivates me to continue working every day in Round Lake. Not for me, not for my children, but for future generations.
I guess my personal goal is for everybody who is from Round Lake to feel like they can reinvest in their community and not leave and take their skills elsewhere. Because that really just like breaks my heart when I hear friends say like, oh, I just want to get out of Round Lake. It's not the attitude I want people to have. I want them to be like, I'm going to go, but I'm going to bring everything I learned back here. And that's what my goal is for Round Lake, my personal goal. And, for the schools, I think it's to kind of instill in your students, like if they want to see change in their community, that they themselves need to be the change agent, because no one's going to provide them with the tools. You may help them and like mentor them, but only they can make a change in their community, and their community is Round Lake.
I guess like graduating this year, I feel like I heard a lot of people say like, oh, like finally I'm leaving Round Lake, or they're like, oh, I'm not going to tell anyone I'm from Round Lake. Like, why would I say that? And I, like in my head, I'm like, well, this is where you grew up. Like, you should be proud of that. And especially Round Lake, because we are trying to get better and we should embrace like that we're trying. And yeah, we're not going to be perfect, but you should still be proud of where we're coming from. And like Michael said, we should like, yeah, be excited to leave Round Lake, but come back with what we learned. And I feel like being part of RLAS, like, I feel like, I don't know, when people ask me what you like most about our community or like what you liked about your school, I always think about the teachers that I had and my experience with them. So I think like that's based on our like relationship that you build with your students, and that's what's gonna make them like have that pride of being from Round Lake. I mean, people like call us ghetto, and like I played sports in high school and in middle school, and every time we would go, sorry, my clock just started, but every time we would go to another school, we would always get dirty looks, or like you just feel so like out of place being there. And it's kind of hard just because it's like, we're here playing a sport, like why can't we just play it and like forget about who we are? But that's not how reality is, and like that reputation comes into place like wherever we go. So I feel like, I don't know, it's just hard when you leave the town. They see us in the way that our reputation was formed, I guess.
I also want to add that like it's very important to acculturate, even though like we are telling you to like learn about the culture of like Hispanics and all of that. It's also very important for you guys to give us some of that culture that you can you know, form us with, because when we do go out to the real world or outside of Round Lake, it is hard. I went into college, CLC, I was very lost. And even speaking of sports, I remember I was a teacher's assistant at Ellis, where I work now, and they were talking about football, something that happens in February, which I still don't understand. You know, that's not my culture, and I wish I knew it, because everybody was bringing in like platters of things to eat, and here I come and I bring something that didn't really go with the theme.
Last time when I went away to school for college, I was like, where am I? Like, where, like, what is happening? Like, I felt like as lost as I could possibly feel. And it was hard already going to college, but it was harder not knowing, you know, where I can get like tacos. And like I said last time, like it was just Whole Foods and I couldn't find tortillas. And it was just like this, that was a horrible time, to be honest. And I would have been nice if somebody told us that, because we always talked about like culture shock when people came into our community, not necessarily culture shock when we left our community. That wasn't something I was prepared for at all.
I like to see that future better, more better than is now. I'm happy to see new teachers, and I want to say that teachers, I love this community. I love that you come, and I hope you love this community, because when you do your work with your heart, with love, not just for the money, no, with love, because I want that you love my students, because I love my students, and I hope the same for all the teachers. Love my students. That is that I wanted.